All right, let's talk about something that can drive any gardener crazy: strawberry plant diseases. It's probably one of the biggest heartbreaks you can have in the garden. But look, it's something every single one of us faces, and with the right game plan, you can absolutely turn a sad, struggling patch into a berry-producing machine. So today, that's what we're doing. We're going to break down how to spot the bad guys, how to fight back naturally, and how to build a strawberry patch that's tough as nails for years to come. You know the dream, right? You've got the raised bed all set up, you've mixed in that beautiful compost, your plants are soaking up that perfect morning sun, and you're just picturing these buckets overflowing with sweet, juicy berries. I mean, that's the goal. That's what we're all aiming for. And then one morning, you're out there and your heart just sinks. You see it. That one berry that looks off. And right there, in that moment, you go from being a happy gardener to a worried detective. And believe me, it happens to literally everyone. So let's put a name to the face. What you're probably looking at is this: gray mold. The fungus is called Botrytis cinerea, and it's probably the most common strawberry bummer out there. It's that soft, fuzzy gray stuff that just seems to pop up overnight. But here's the thing you have to remember. It is not random. It's a signal. Your garden is trying to tell you something. So why does this stuff happen? Plant diseases don't just appear out of thin air. They're usually the result of a few specific conditions all lining up just right to create the perfect storm. So let's get into the three main triggers that basically roll out the welcome mat for trouble in your strawberry patch. First up, moisture overload. I'm talking about wet leaves that sit damp all night long, or berries that are just resting on soggy soil. To a fungus, that's a five-star resort. Second, crowding and poor airflow. When you pack your plants in too tight, air can't get through. That traps humidity, creating a little tropical paradise for leaf diseases. And third, tired soil. If you keep planting in the exact same spot year after year, and you don't refresh it with good compost and organic matter, pathogens just build up in the soil, waiting for their chance to pounce. Okay, so we know the why. Now let's get into the what. We're going to do a quick run-through of the 6 most common diseases you're likely to see. Think of this as your personal field guide for figuring out what's going on. And here you go, a great little visual cheat sheet. You've got gray mold, leaf spot, verticillium wilt, powdery mildew, anthracnose, and fusarium wilt. They all look a little different, and they each have their own favorite conditions. So let's zoom in on a couple of the most frequent offenders. First on the list, powdery mildew. This one is super easy to spot. It looks exactly like what it sounds like: a thin, white, dusty coating all over the leaves. A lot of times you'll see the leaves start to curl up at the edges as it really takes hold. It absolutely loves those dry days that are followed by humid nights. Now, the good news is you can totally fight this. The minute you see it, start pruning off those infected leaves. Get some air moving through there. A simple spray made with potassium bicarbonate works wonders at knocking back the fungus. And long-term, just make sure you're giving your plants plenty of elbow room and try not to go overboard with nitrogen fertilizer, because that creates the soft, leafy growth that mildew just adores. Okay, next up is anthracnose. This one's a bit of a meaner customer, especially if you live somewhere warm and humid. What you're looking for here are dark, round, sunken spots right on the fruit. These ugly little spots can also show up on stems and runners, and man, they can spread like wildfire in hot, wet weather. When you're dealing with anthracnose, you have to be ruthless. I mean it. You've got to remove and destroy, and I do not mean compost, any part of the plant that's infected. And here's a step people always forget. Sanitize your clippers between every single cut. Otherwise, you're just spreading the disease yourself. A great little trick is to use a thick layer of straw mulch. It stops rain from splashing those spores from the soil up onto your plants. Now, we need to talk about the real heavy hitters: verticillium and fusarium wilt. These are a different beast entirely. There's soil-borne diseases that get inside the plant and clog up its vascular system, basically choking it from the inside out. And here's the tough part. Once a plant has it, there is no cure. This, right here, is why focusing on prevention and soil health isn't just a nice idea. It's absolutely everything. So, what do we actually do the moment we see trouble? Let's switch gears from just identifying problems to taking action. This is your game plan for fighting back organically and for making some of those tough calls you're gonna have to make. So, here are your 4 go-to tools for natural disease control. You've got neem oil, which is a fantastic all-arounder for things like powdery mildew. Copper sprays are really effective for leaf spot. Sulfur can be great for preventing spores from ever getting started. And Bacillus subtilis, that's a good bacteria that can actually help treat both powdery mildew and anthracnose. Think of these as your first line of defense. And that brings us to maybe the hardest decision any gardener has to make. When do you prune, and when do you just pull the whole plant? Well, here's a simple guide. You prune if the infection is pretty minor. We're talking less than a quarter of the leaves are hit, and the crown of the plant is still firm and you see strong new growth. But you got to pull it if the disease just keeps spreading no matter what you do, if that crown feels soft or looks dark and rotten, or if the plant is just stunted and not doing anything. It's a tough call, I know, but sometimes you have to sacrifice one plant to save the whole patch. Look, treating problems after they pop up is one thing, but the real win, the real goal, is to build a strawberry patch that's so healthy it resists diseases from the get-go. So let's talk about the big picture strategies that create that kind of lasting success. Real success really boils down to 4 simple habits that make a world of difference. 1, water in the morning so the leaves have all day to dry. 2, prune regularly to keep that air flowing. 3, use a good thick mulch to keep berries off the damp soil. And 4, don't go crazy with nitrogen fertilizer. These simple things fundamentally change the environment in your patch, making it way less inviting for diseases. And here are the long-term big picture keys. Using raised beds is a total game changer for drainage. Crop rotation is honestly non-negotiable. And a big tip, never plant strawberries where you just had tomatoes or potatoes, because they can share some of the same nasty wilts pathogens. Your main job should always be feeding the soil with compost and building up that army of good microbes that outcompete the bad guys. And finally, keep a journal. Seriously, just jotting down what you see and what you do is the single fastest way to become an expert on your own garden. So here's what I really want you to take away from all this. Finding a disease in your garden doesn't mean you're a failure. Not at all. It means you're in the game. It means you're paying attention. Every single spotted leaf, every moldy berry, it's just a piece of information. It's a little lesson from your garden, nudging you to become a smarter, more observant grower. And I want to leave you with this idea. Strawberries, they're going to test you. They really will. They can be finicky, they can be demanding, but it's through that whole process of seeing a problem, trying to fix it, learning and adapting, that you gain real skill. The problems, they're the curriculum. You are learning to become the solution.